I'm in Orangeburg, South Carolina, speaking with Steve Katzberg. And Steve, you spent 40 years up in Virginia as a research
engineer
for NASA?
I did.
And now here we are sitting in a citrus grove. And I think one of the interesting ways that you discovered your curiosity about citrus was that you and Walter Edgar, so well known to South Carolinians, were in high school together in military school and had a little bit of a friendly rivalry about Charleston and Mobile.
We did that, yep. And so like that got me to reading about a lot of history of South Carolina and how was Charleston really a great place, what were characteristics of it, and that kind of led into looking into what's unique we could do in South Carolina, and one of those is citrus.
And because they had tried to establish a citrus industry in South Carolina, but the trees would live for a certain number of years and then something cold would happen and that would be the end of them.
Yeah, what we consider the commercial citrus, lemons, limes, grapefruit, oranges, they're not very cold hardy. And even though they would go for a while in Charleston, go for a few years, cold snap would come and destroy whatever commercial grows you had. So as a commercial investment, after you put all this time and effort in them, they'd be destroyed overnight.
And you, being a researcher, started looking and looking and looking and found out that sometimes all you could get were seeds, but you found some true hardy citrus, and I believe in your yard here you have kind of the mother of those. Let's talk about that citrus.
They're kind of like two branches. One of them is just some native citrus that are hardy, and there are others that are hybrids. The USDA tried to make a bunch of hybrids back in the 1880s. Some were successful, most are not. But if you look into the actual citrus industry, you find out there was one citrus which is considered the mother of a lot of the hybrids, and it's the most cold hardy evergreen citrus that exists. It's called the Ichang Papeda.
And so from that one, I think many of those slightly acidic ones derived.
That's correct. Even though the Citrus ichangensis, the Ichang Papeda, is to me inedible and smells like a goat, and then the juice is even worse. If you cross it with, say, a pomelo, you'll get Ichang lemon. It's still sour, but tastes great. You cross it with a tangerine, and you get Yuzu or Citrus junos, which is used in Asian cooking. The Ichang lemon, again, crossed between Ichang Papeda and Citrus maxima pomelo, it can also be used in Mediterranean cooking. If you get the fruit, they're huge fruit. One fruit will make enough lemonade for lunch. It's like if you take it and cut it up and put it in a glass jar, put salt on it, put another layer, and then keep doing that till you fill it up, and leave that alone for about 6 to 8 weeks. It will last for months and is used in Mediterranean cooking, tangine, chicken, and stuff like that.
Goodness. And then also I believe that there's some that you take to local Asian themed restaurants because they like to make a certain sauce of them.
Right, that's the Yuzu or Citrus junos. That plant is highly valued by Thai people, Japanese people, and Vietnamese, and they use it to make their ponzu dipping sauce. There are no real sources of yuzu in the United States, so it's a potential dooryard industry for South Carolina to provide that, to have your own yuzus provided to your own Asian restaurant.
And so some of these plants that would not be particularly good, just let's have a wonderful orange the way your mother and my mother would get an orange for Christmas one a year. But some of these, now that we have specialty restaurants and we want to promote South Carolina agriculture, certified South Carolina grown, I believe that you and Zach Snipes and Philip Conley,
yes, from Clemson,
are working to try to come up with some ways that these trees can be reproduced, and that chefs in Charleston and some of these cities with these wonderful restaurants can offer from the farm to the plate.
Absolutely. That's something I think is the objective of the Clemson research that's being done on it. I gave them some plants that they're evaluating down in Charleston. But yeah, that would be the objective of this, is to be able to provide citrus for the local restaurants and local industry. You know.
So then there's some that are just sweet, and let's talk about the two favorites that you have that are fun just to eat out of hand.
Well, there's three, because we can start with the kumquat, which these are Meiwa kumquats. People know about kumquats. A lot of them will draw your mouth up as soon as you chew it. Sweet rind, but sour in the middle.
Well, when you eat those, and I love them, you just need to bite down on the whole thing at one time.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you have one that's very different.
It's called Meiwa. There are several kumquat varieties, and Meiwa is sweet all the way through. So that's one of them. And then the two tangerines, Keraji, Changsha, and also have a USDA plant that was developed that was successful called Thomasville citrine squat. Makes some of the best Scottish or English marmalade you ever ate.
These tangerines aren't like the little cuties and things that we get in that they have a few seeds in them, but not particularly that many, and the flavor is perfectly delicious.
They're sweet and flavorful, and you can take them off the tree when you want them, not when it's too early and they're still a little bit tart. So yeah, absolutely. They're very, very sweet, and they're incredibly flavorful.
And I believe you can keep them in the refrigerator for weeks. Is that
Yeah,
true?
I mean, kumquats, you can keep them there a couple months. For the tangerines, maybe even a month or so, as long as you keep them cool, and that they'll last a long time. Take them off the tree when they're ripe, put them in the vegetable keeper, and they'll still be there several weeks from then.
When I look around, I see trees that look two different ways. Some of them are just great big full trees and are covered with fruit right now, and then some of them are kind of scrawny looking, and there just maybe one stem coming up. What's going on there?
Well, there are two guys who've been experimenting with this down in Texas that I knew, and one was Stu Nagel and the other was William Chapman. And Stu Nagel came up with the theory that if you graft onto trifoliate orange or some other rootstock that's hardy, very hardy, if you graft on them, the higher up, the hardier they are. So I've done that as an experiment down here with this group we have here.
Now, but the disadvantage of that is if we get a freeze that kills the rootstock, you don't have the wonderful fruit that you've gone to a lot of trouble to get.
Or if you kill the top,
Yeah.
nothing's going to come back out except the rootstock, and
But
that's inedible generally.
But with these, if some rare event comes and it killed to the ground, it's probably going to resprout with the exact same tree.
If they're grown on their own seed from their own rootstock, it's the actual plant all the way down in the ground. You wait for a while, and out will come green little sprouts, and you tend those, and back will come the tree. There's one other thing too,
Yes.
is that if you take the seed like this, we're talking about the Changshas, or even the ones that are frozen back in the ground, the one good thing about the citrus, it doesn't take forever for them to start fruiting again.
Oh, all right. And some of them actually come true from seed. I think that was how you told me that you got
They
some
are.
of them.
Nuclear seedlings come from them. The most seedlings that you get out are actually identical to the parent. There are very few sexual reproduction seeds that come from that.
Isn't that something? And then, I'm not accusing you of being lazy, but honestly, it doesn't look like you're spending a lot of time thinning these trees or so that light can get to them and all kinds of stuff. It looks like you've just planted them and here they are.
Well, that was the objective. Both cold hardy enough, the fruit comes soon enough so it doesn't get frozen, and they take care of themselves in the yard. Heroic methods, you want to build you a greenhouse, then you're welcome to do that. But if you just want to have one out back that in October you can walk out like we're doing now, take you some tangerines in, squeeze them in the morning, make lemonade, that's available to you without heroic efforts.
And you're not having to spray for pests or diseases. I don't even think deer bother them.
No, deer don't bother them, and there's no animal that bothers them. The only thing that we get is when they dry up, when the citrus is finished, if I haven't eaten them all, the squirrels will come out and take the dried up ones and eat the seeds out of them. So I say, that's more power to you. Get those off the tree, take them somewhere else and eat the seeds, and don't bring them back.
And then also, when they come into flower, is it kind of like peaches? If the blooms are harmed by a late frost, can that affect the crop?
Yes. In fact, they tend to bloom peaches a little bit earlier, but these bloom in April. But the same with peaches and same with these, about the same time. If we get a late frost, it's going to destroy not only for the flowers like for peaches, but it'll also damage the limbs and stuff, the branches on the tree.
So you won't have any fruit the next year.
Right. You'll see some here. Well, you won't have them that year, right? And if you notice some of these around here, they have been damaged in the past. We've been through 15 degrees about 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, and we just went through 14 degrees now, and you take a look and see. You can see the residue of the damage. It's just sitting there, but the trees are perfectly flushed out and look great.
Well, I just think this would be the ideal backyard fruit. They're not enormous. They don't take a great deal of care, and they'd be a wonderful source for vitamins and to encourage everyone in your family to eat in a more healthy way. I hope that there will be a way that you can take your success and we can find people to make this more available.
Well, we know now which plants will do it. We know that this far south into South Carolina, you can go at least 15 years without any damage to a commercial crop, whether it was the Ichang lemons or the Changshas, Thomasvilles. So that tells us that there's an opportunity here to expand where this is not just in Orangeburg, but at all the rest of the gateway and into the low country.
Gosh, I want to thank you so much for all the years of effort that you've spent studying this and establishing this wonderful grove that I think is going to lead to making this more widely available. Thank you so much, Steve.
My pleasure.